Yo, Vibe Tribe, it's Zach Plotkin, your host, back with another VyBCast. Today we have Mason Cohn and a special guest.
Dahrah here, hello.
Hello, this is Mason. Excited to be here back again.
Yeah, so let's begin. How are both of you guys doing today? How are you, Dahrah?
Doing all right. The weather's been kind of weird today. It was
super weird.
Yeah, it was rainy, and then you go outside and it was sunny, and we'll see what happens later. But yeah, well, that's Philly
today,
for you.
Yeah, I made it humid, very, very humid. Got my hair damp.
Yeah, today I was so excited to go outside and go skating, and then I was like, oh, it's wet, and I couldn't do that. So, yeah.
I feel that. It did wonders for my hair, though. Makes it poofy.
Yeah, I don't like when my hair is poofy. What is your company? I don't really know, I guess, what you do.
Yeah, so my brother was diagnosed with autism January 24th, 2012. That exact date has been embedded in my mind for a really long time. And his journey in finding his voice and kind of becoming closer with his family kind of inspired me to do the same thing for other families, because unfortunately autism is kind of looked at as a death sentence. So I want to change the perception of that, and one of the ways of doing that is increasing the opportunities for people on the spectrum to become, I guess, more productive members of society. So that trickles all the way down to the very beginning, which is, making sure that the right paperwork and supporting documents are given to these organizations so they can focus on the care of the child. Mm-hmm. So I'm working on kind of automating that entire process and creating a paper trail for families to be able to share that data with whatever organization they're working with. So it makes it easier for them to communicate with each other and gather this information. So that's what I'm working on in a nutshell.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I feel like there's so
cool.
much to ask, I guess. So how you seem like you're obviously passionate about this because it affects you deeply in your family. So when did you think of when did you think of this idea? What's it called?
Musas World. So it's named after my brother,
Okay.
Musa Muhammad. In terms of when I came up with it, the starting idea was actually in a social entrepreneurship class that Dr. Oz taught.
Who?
Oslam,
okay.
yeah. So we had to come up with a specific industry we wanted to target and come up with a enterprise where, we could make money but do social good. And autism was a big point for me to kind of figure out what I wanted to do with that.
Wow.
And then we came up with the idea in the class as a database to help families connect with resources. Of course, after doing further investigation, I realized there's quite a few places that actually have their own databases in place. The one issue was that we found that it was very difficult to still find these organizations and connect with them. And then once you connect with them, then there's all this paperwork that you have to kind of go through. Each organization can have 50 plus pages that you have to fill out.
Wow.
And so for a parent who's trying to just get care for their kid, constantly having to go through that process and not even knowing if that organization is going to be able to work with them, it's a headache. So we started talking to some families and some potential partner organizations, and they all kind of touched upon how important it was to figure out a way to bridge that gap in the communication and just collecting and sharing of data.
Wow.
So cool.
Yeah.
Wait, so are you an entrepreneurship major?
I am.
Okay.
So I am a
You're good,
fourth
man.
year out of 5 at Drexel. So because we have the 3 co-op 5-year cooperative education program with Drexel, I am currently on my last co-op, which is my own business right now.
So you got the entrepreneur.
Yes, I got the entrepreneurship co-op, which is the 6 months off and the $15,000 to be able to work on the concept.
Sick.
So that's what I'm working on right now. I was part of the first recruited incoming class, as it may.
That's elite.
So
That's cool.
yeah.
It's awesome to come up with an idea for your business in class.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So what have you been working on today? What was focused? What were you focused on today?
Oh, no. Well, today has been kind of a pretty chillax day. For the most part, I've been finalizing the schedule for my new team. I went from me plus 1 person to me and a development team of 10.
Wow.
So
Today?
Yeah. Well, it happened as a Friday,
Uh-huh.
but today I'm starting to get everybody's schedule in so that way we can finalize when everybody's able to come in, when we can set up meetings and that sort of stuff. Really cool bunch of kids that I'm excited to get into this whole thing with. So
That's
that's what I've been spending most of today doing, really.
So that's really cool, expanding your team from
Yeah.
2 to 12, I guess, right?
Yeah.
So, walk us through that process. How did you find them? how did you get them interested? How did you finalize like an agreement? Like
Yeah.
how did you do that?
Yeah.
It's pretty impressive.
So they actually kind of found me.
Wow.
I was having an interest meeting, and I didn't have a lot of attendance. 2 of the people that attended were actually from my fencing club. My fencing club is kind of made up of a lot of CS people. So when they heard about it, they're like, why didn't you just get the fencing team to make this for you? And I was like, I didn't even think to ask, you know? And then when I sat down at fencing practice and kind of just like showed them what I was trying to do, they're like, yo, this sounds awesome. So we had a separate meeting on the 3rd, so this past Friday, and we were just trying to discuss the different softwares that we would use, how we would go about building it, and I was like, is this too much for you guys? And they're like, nope, let's get it started. So yeah,
Cool.
from then just adding everybody to a Slack page and
Huh.
finalizing
Slack.
schedules. Yeah.
I love Slack.
I love it and I hate it at the same time, to be
Same.
honest. It's not as user friendly as I would like.
Yeah, they could definitely do a little bit
Yeah.
with that. What's your schedule been like? What's it been like? I guess being an entrepreneur, like a day in the life, I guess.
So it's kind of weird. In the beginning, you're not really sure where to start. And so a lot of people see the entrepreneurs that are very, very busy and kind of hectic and they have a lot of meetings and stuff going on. And then there's the other type of entrepreneurs that if they're doing something like what I'm doing as a pilot, you're slowly easing into things. So it hasn't been super hectic, but it should start picking up the pace as we're expanding our partnership reach. So we're trying to get to other companies so that way we can get their intake process, kind of have them on board. So when we build out the first prototype, we have a bunch of different organizations testing it.
So what do you? Yeah, go.
I was like really interested in like your new expansion of the team.
Mhm.
So I kind of want to bring it back a little bit.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, go.
I mean,
that's
for,
a big topic.
Yeah, for Zach and I, with Vibe, we've been expanding the team as well.
Yeah, it's a pretty big one.
Yeah, the Vibe Tribe. Anyways, as like for people that are young, starting up their own companies, and they just need like more boots on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Like obviously, to be an entrepreneur, you have to wear many hats.
Yes.
But I mean, there comes a time where you obviously need more hands on deck. So could you talk about a little bit like how did you like are you compensating these people? Like what value are you providing to them to make them want to work for you? Is it their passion for your project as well? Like is it a mix of these things? Like
Yeah.
I think that people would love to know like how do they get more people on their teams, you know? How do they expand?
Yeah. So I was super lucky in this case because these people have known me for 2 years.
Okay.
And they know kind of my work ethic. They know my leadership skills because I'm president of the club that they're a member of.
Mm-hmm.
And I told them right off the bat, I can't pay you. That's just something I can't afford to do right now. But you need a recommendation, you let me know and it's yours. For something like this, they're actually kind of learning a lot of new software from one of our tech advisors. So they're going to be going into the weeds of learning new things that they haven't even been taught yet. So by the time co-op comes around or full-time employment, they'll have a full list of different softwares that they can implement into any company that they go forward with. So it's a matter of the experience that you can provide for certain people, especially when it comes to like the development teams.
Okay.
For CS people, in terms of them trying to get employed in any job, they always look at the experience section and what projects they've worked on. So if you can provide that and help teach them different things, then it works better for them than in terms of, that versus compensation and wages. It's my full intention that when the company starts making money, that's why I'm having them like keep track of how many hours they're putting in from now up until then to pay them back for everything.
Mm-hmm.
So there's different ways you can go about it, but for me, it was just, they know my personality, they know who I am. So when you're trying to onboard people, have people get to know you, and then they'll be passionate about what you're doing because it's something you are passionate about.
Absolutely.
So that's kind of how I built my team around me to make sure that they were as interested in the product as I am.
I think that's so cool, especially because like people need to understand that there's like money isn't the only source of like value you can provide someone.
Oh my God,
Yes.
that's such a great point.
And
Yeah.
and especially when you take money out of the equation, you kind of reduce like who you're working with to only the people that care like the most.
Yeah,
You know, like there's no like fake passion, there's no fake effort.
exactly.
So I think that's so cool. Like I think that
Because because there's no way you could say, oh, they're just doing it for the money, because
Yeah.
there's no money.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
Yeah, but it's awesome. But it's awesome that you can still provide them that value, that experience, the resume, the letter of recommendation, like all that cool stuff. It's so cool.
Yeah. It also helps to kind of clarify the time that you want from people, especially when you're not paying them.
Yeah.
So I told them to let me know what hours they can work, and that's what I have put in there. If it's after that 10 o'clock mark and they want to go home, I'm not going to keep them longer unless they want to be there.
Okay.
Just so that way you kind of respect the boundaries that, because you know they are working for free and they're doing something out of the kindness of their heart, but it's very easy to take advantage. So setting those clear, like, guidelines right up front is super helpful as well to make sure that everybody's on the same page.
Absolutely.
So what would you say, you said, you mentioned your leadership skills. What would you say some of the most important skills that you have that you think make you who you are?
I'm a mama bear. I kind of can't help it. I like to, if you're having a bad day and I can tell, I kind of pull you aside and I want you to feel comfortable talking about it, because you're not just, you know, a person or a member. You have a little bit more to you. So I always try to provide that feeling for people, to kind of listen to their ideas and things that they want and that they need. And if I'm able to kind of help provide anything to help those things out, then that's what I'll do. So that's kind of a big thing, I guess, that makes me unique as a person. It's just my ability to listen to people and know, you know, what they may need at certain times or what they may not need at certain times. So if I need to shut up and kind of back out, then that's what I need to do.
Yeah.
But just kind of having that understanding of people, how they'll interact with each other is, you know, that's all part of the whole mama bear thing that I feel I have.
Cool. Yeah. I think that's being empathetic. We learned about, we were actually in the same class, all of us were in the same class, Ready, Set, Fail.
Yep.
So I guess we could talk a little about classes. So you're part of the pilot Close School group. I think that's something, I guess, to be proud of, because you took a little bit of a risk coming.
I did.
Yeah.
There was some people that definitely came before I did, but in terms of when they started like recruiting like a full freshman class, that was when my people came in.
So what were some of the classes you took freshman year?
So it was the life strategies. We took 1 and 2. There was social entrepreneurship, I believe I took my freshman year. There's so many different classes, I can't remember which years I've taken.
What were some of your favorites? You talked a little about the social entrepreneurship.
Social entrepreneurship was a big one. Building entrepreneurial teams was another one, because understanding how different people operate and work together on projects, just because they're similar with certain things, doesn't mean that they'll make a good team.
I am going to be honest. I did not like that class at first. I felt like I just didn't really like it. And then now, I would say like 3, 4, 5 weeks in. Right now we're set like week 6. Yeah, I am loving the class.
Yeah.
Because I'm realizing the importance of it, and you're working with so many different people.
Yeah.
And I know for sure I'm probably not going to pick like a team full of like an autonomous team full of all my friends, because it was very hard.
It wouldn't work well. And it's very hard also when you're trying to build something with your friends, because if they do something that's either kind of shady or, you know, they upset you business wise, that goes into the friendship. People think you can separate it. I honestly feel you can't. So that's why like setting those guidelines and everything is super important, which is why classes like building entrepreneurial teams was beneficial for me. The entrepreneurship classes are kind of interesting, because you never realize how impactful they are until you actually go out into life, and then you're like, oh, this makes sense now.
Mason and I have this thing like fail fast that we learned from Ready, Set, Fail, where you just literally fail fast, go out and try it, and if you fail, then you failed. Hey, move on, learn, move on. So I thought it was kind of cool. So what do you plan on doing in like the future? So you're 4 out of 5 years. I mean, I guess you don't really have to know. What do you want to do?
Oh, I know.
Okay, good.
Yeah, good. I've been planning this since before I got to college.
Awesome.
But I want to continue to build out Musa's World, and obviously make sure that turns into the company that I see it becoming. In terms of academically speaking, I'm actually going to try and shoot for my master's in psychology for applied behavioral analysis. So those are the people that kind of work with autistic children. So I kind of want to get more background and more credibility in that specific area. So I'm going to go for my master's. But
any idea where you want to study?
actually, we have one of the best psychology master programs in the country. We're ranked top 10.
At Drexel?
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, so you're gonna stay here, probably? Hopefully?
Yeah, and it's online as well, so I can actually take my time to get the degree.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the greatest part is in terms of, I guess, the thesis, the ending paper that I have to provide. It's either you implement a paper with basic research or you implement a new technology into the industry.
What you're doing.
And it
Ooh.
counts as hours. So I'm like,
Hell yeah.
let's do it. So that's kind of how I'm going to mesh
really
it together.
exciting.
Yeah, it ends up working pretty well, and it's surprising that it worked out this well, but you do more research and you find different things out every day about the different pathways you can take, and that's
Absolutely.
mine.
Yeah. It's cool. I think that I learned a lot about you that I didn't know, and I think I learned a lot. I'm so after this, I spoke with somebody the other day who mentioned their social entrepreneurship class created a lot of thoughts about, like, for them, like, they thought a lot about creating a business around social entrepreneurship, and like it's making me really excited to go take that class. I feel like a lot of good things are going to come out of that.
Yeah, you learn a lot of interesting things about a lot of powerful people who did something so small and turned it into something big. But then the fact that you're coming into that class with a clean slate and you introduce an idea and you hear people encourage that idea or give different little threads to that idea as it may. So you can kind of build and build and build, and you're like, oh my God, I didn't even think of that. So that's what's great about these classes, is getting that feedback and just being able to iterate and pivot and do what you have to do within the safe space of your classes. And then you can kind of go out and actually make it into something. So it's a good class. You'll enjoy it for sure.
All right, so to wrap it up, I guess I want to ask, what could we expect in 6 months from, how do you say the name again?
Musas World.
Musas World.
Yes,
okay, Musas
perfect.
World.
So hopefully we'll have the first usable prototype at that point to be able to implement in at least 1 to 2 organizations. That's what we're trying to work to build out those relationships now. But in terms of being able to fully release it, I don't foresee it happening until at least a year or 2 from now, just because it's healthcare records. So it has to be 1,000% HIPAA compliant. Parents have to trust that the information is being transferred correctly and that they're comfortable with what they're doing, uploading their child's life onto a server. So we need to make sure that we build as much background for it as possible. So that's what we're kind of working on. So if we're able to get at least the first big MVP done by the end of the month, month 6, I think I'd be extremely happy with that.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Dara, I think that what you're doing is amazing.
Thank you.
I think it's so cool. I'm so happy that we're doing this podcast because we've never gotten to break it down. Like you said, we've learned so much about you in a short amount of time.
I didn't
and we see you every day here in the office. So it's just awesome that we got the chance to speak with you and get a little bit get to know a little bit more about you
and what you're doing, because I always see you here and you're working, and I'm like, I wonder what she's doing.
Yeah, just stop by and ask.
I'll do that next time. Well, thank you.
Yeah, of course.
For being on the VyBCast and Tribe out.